Why did I stay with my shitty ex? Am I in a toxic relationship? How am I going to move on and find love? We're your hosts, Izzy
and Meredith,
and welcome to ExFacts, Relationships and Breakups. Relationships are confusing. When they end, we're left picking up the pieces and wondering what went wrong. So, each episode on ExFacts, we'll hear stories from real people sharing their experiences in relationships. We'll also hear from experts to help us uncover the deeper meaning behind our actions and emotions. At the end of every episode, we'll answer a listener's question. No topic is off limits, so ask us anything you want to know. From conflict and healing to dating and love, ExFacts will take you on a mind-blowing journey to explore all aspects of our amazing, imperfect, frustrating relationships. Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of ExFacts, Relationships and Breakups. We're your hosts, Izzy and Meredith. And so I know, Meredith, we talked last time about your divorce.
Yeah.
You have any updates on that?
It's getting a little hot in here. Yeah, so basically last time we spoke, it went from being completely amicable to my husband deciding not to pay for my legal bills, which like at this point in time is kind of necessary because I don't have a dollar to my name and I don't have a job yet. So my lawyer reached out to his lawyer and was basically like, I think there might be like kind of a misunderstanding here because she doesn't have any money and you've been paying it just fine this whole time.
Yeah.
And the lawyer, like a dragon, like fired back like a really salty, like curt email, and in which she said, that's a lot to be getting already from a brief and childless marriage.
What?
It's as if I won the lotto.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, getting divorced after 15 years in a relationship, totally like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
So basically now I have to figure out what we're going to do because she's holding firm on that. But that did harken me back when we were signing the prenup. I may have told you this already, but we were, he had provided me my own lawyer through his lawyer. Mm-hmm. And the initial draft, when I went to review it with the lawyer they provided me with, the dude was like clearly not on my side. Yeah. To the point where he said the same thing. He was like, you'd be lucky to get anything, frankly, like you should just go along with this. Yeah. So I got my own lawyer, who is the one I'm working with now, because she's like actually cares about human beings and is nice and kind. And when she read the first draft of the prenup, she was like, that is horrifying. Like, I've never seen anything that offensive before. Yeah. So it's just a lot of that, which is interesting, being that we're still living together for the most part in the same house. I do try to stay with friends like as much as I can. I mean, we're still friendly, but it's just very stressful and overwhelming and uncomfortable for me, especially because the more that my lawyers are working to combat this issue, mm-hmm. the more money I owe them that I can't provide them with. So it's kind of a catch-22. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
I mean, that's crazy because it's not like you're not going to be getting money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's like,
it makes no difference unless it does some like sophisticated tax money, hiding money way that I'm not aware of. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be paying it through that. I think they don't want to give me what they're going to give me. Like, they don't want to give me more on top to pay the legal fees, but like, it's not even a drop in the bucket. Just pay it. Yeah, it's like,
just let it, like, come to, let this chapter be done.
Right. Yeah. And I am like actively looking for jobs. I mean, I do little things here and there, like trivia hosting, modeling gigs. Like, it's not like I'm sitting around all day, but now I need to like immediately look for something full time, which is always fun when you're like,
under the gun.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, have you found anyone that's like good to talk to about this other than obviously the lawyers?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like kind of a cathartic release talking about it on the podcast, but it's a tough thing because, I don't want to like not slander because it wouldn't not be true, but I don't want to talk shit about, my former husband while all this is going on and like everything winds up being fine and I regret it. Like, I don't think I've been like out of bounds or disrespectful, but it's hard to know where the line is between like sharing a situation that probably a lot of people can relate to and benefit from hearing about versus like him, his friends, his family hearing it and like everything just getting worse and being like this bitch. So yeah, I'm trying to walk a fine line. I mean, I do have like close friends that I can talk to about it. And they, are helpful and listen and everything. But yeah, it's kind of hard to know like how much to share with people when shit starts hitting the fan.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like to that note, like sometimes I found that it's not as useful to share things about a relationship when it's still going on.
Yeah.
Because then, so say you talk a bunch of shit and then like you're like, oh, I'm about to break up with them, and then you don't.
Yeah.
And it's like your best friend, and then
my friends do that all the time. And I'm like, he was trash.
Yeah, exactly. And
oh wait, you're back together. Shit. I liked him the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. But then you feel like, guilty. And then sometimes they're like, oh, I believed you. And they're not about to just like change up how they feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's different in your situation because like you're actually done. Like,
yeah, there's final.
No, like, exit from the lawyer.
There's no turning back. But on that note, like just people who backslide, can we get into that? Because it is almost never a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, you broke up for a reason. We might have talked about this before, but there is a period like fresh off the breakup where you're lonely and you're sad and you're missing that person because you're so used to them being around all the time where you're like, did I make a mistake? Maybe we should get back together. Don't do it, I say. It's rarely ever worth it. Like if the problem hasn't been solved, why get back into it? It's just like an endless cycle at that point. That's how I feel.
I think it's like it can be. I think it usually is that way. And if you're getting back together because you're lonely, that's the wrong reason. But in the past, I've had relationships where the problems were like lack of communication over some subject that just like was kind of under, when you like are with someone for a long time and you kind of like sweep things under the rug for a long time. And then sometimes you need something like a big jolt, like a separation or a short breakup to just like be like, oh fuck, like let's both get our heads out of the clouds and be like, okay, maybe you do this and I do that and we solve the issue.
If you're like actively doing self-work and you're like doing your thing and then you come back and you have a solution, then sure, go for it. But I just think that happens like 5%.
Exactly. Without a solution and just being like, oh, we realize we actually do love each other.
Right. No, you don't.
And I don't care that he still is like the shithead.
Let me just suspend disbelief because I'm tired of sleeping alone. And
exactly.
Totally. How do you feel about like, do you discuss your relationship with anyone?
I mean, I have. It's like there's a certain. I feel like there's a line that you like can't cross. You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff that just like needs to stay private. You know what I mean? But there's like a bunch of other like if I'm annoyed about my boyfriend, I'll tell the world about it. You know what I mean? Because like, one, I think it's important for like, I mean, I don't think my problems for the most part are that different from other people's problems. So it's like, if we didn't pick up the eggs or something at the grocery, I don't think that's like a breach of trust. You know what I mean? Like share with someone. But it's a lot different. Or if we're having an argument, the milk kind of argument, I think it's okay to talk it through with people. I think it's different. There's like a line between talking it through, getting someone's perspective versus just like shitting on them. You know what I mean? With someone who like, I think the other part of it is like, if they are going to,
if they have a relationship with that person, it just like makes it awkward. It's about to like blow up in your face, you know?
Yeah.
Versus like if it's someone like a therapist that you talk to,
Mm-hmm.
therapist about whatever, or if it's someone like a pseudo, I guess, stand-in therapist role where they're not at all involved in the relationship,
Yeah.
but they're really far away, they don't have a relationship with that person, then it's like different too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I used to be, well, I still am kind of like a classic oversharer. I just like word vomit everything. I rarely regret it because that's kind of how I live my life, but especially with like family, I've learned that it does not behoove me to do that because like said family will just take shit and run with it and knock it over, and it's like it's not helpful, it's actually like adding to my stress. But yeah, if you can find someone to like listen and talk it through with you, sometimes you can even gain like new insight,
perspective.
But yeah, there's a line of loyalty that like your loyalty should be to your partner, and a bridge you don't cross. Like,
exactly. And like also it's good to, you have to know what you're talking to the other person for. So if you're talking for pity, I think that's like, I've
been doing a lot of that.
No, and I don't think that's
no one
like,
feels bad for
I don't think that's like necessarily a bad thing. Just know that that's what you're doing too, and know your audience there, because then like, so say you're talking to your family who's like theoretically supposed to be always on your side, you know what I mean? And then you talk to them, you're trying to get pity, so you've already like gotten them on your sides. You've said all the bad shit about them. You know what I mean? Then if you want to have them over for Christmas or whatever, it's gonna be awkward. So like just know that like, but if you're talking to like your friend across the country for pity, that's like totally different. You know, there's probably not gonna be any negative repercussions. But if you're talking to gain perspective, like sometimes I'll talk through like something I'm mad at Carl about, and just to kind of get, even though I know people aren't going to be like, oh, you're wrong, you know, you can kind of gauge
like, am I crazy here?
But like you can gauge like, okay, so if you say 3 things that they did that were like in your mind fucked up, you can gauge like their reaction might be like, oh fuck, that's terrible, and you're like, okay, that one I'm on, or like, I'm in the right, or like maybe you could kind of see it from their perspective, you know, like tiptoeing around, like maybe you're just fucked up right now. So that kind of thing, you know, is a different reason for talking to someone. Just know your audience, know the repercussions, because you don't want to like hurt yourself for sure. Then, like, you know,
well, what's crazy is my current / soon to be ex, we decided like late October, early November of this past year that we were like definitely committed to splitting up. We were still seeing like a couples therapist. It was very early stages. We didn't even get lawyers involved until I want to say like January or February. So I had like a close circle of friends that I told, but like none of our family members knew. And for the longest time, I want to say like October to December, maybe even the beginning of January, like he hadn't told anyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, besides our couples therapist. And she just kept being like, you need to talk to someone about this. Like, and that was her recommendation. She's like, I mean, I know you have me, but like a friend, a family member, like you cannot be doing this alone. It's too much to handle. It's too heavy. So he did get his brother involved, which I think was good and helpful. Was it uncomfortable for me? 100%, but that's just the nature of the beast.
No, if you're going through something and you don't be afraid to like reach out to people, you know what I mean? It's hard to like know.
You can't not share with a single soul. Like that is asking for depression and terrible things to happen.
So, you know, find the right people. Just realize like, you know, I know I've gotten bitten in the ass, been like, like, I'm thinking about breaking up with this person. It's like, no, I decided.
Just kidding. Well, I have historically had the opposite problem. Like people always come to me for advice and sharing, just like you said, whatever the motivation may be. And I used to get like very heavily involved because I cared about the people and I wanted to help them. And oftentimes I was not on one particular side. It was that I cared about both people. Almost every single time I've done that, it blew up in my face. Like they unite with each other against you, even though I'm like, I should have been charging you this whole time. I'm just trying to help you. Now you're mad at me. What is happening? So now I no longer like, I'll give like a hint of an opinion, but then I literally am like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't really give advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I can't do it again. I'm not gonna have you two be mad at me when I'm just trying to help you. Nope.
Yeah. Another random question. I, in the past, another thing that I failed at is trying to be matchmaker. Never goes well for me.
Oh.
Have you done that successfully or?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. I am actually really good at that. I try not to do it anymore because, first of all, I don't know any single people that should be in relationships. So let's just keep it there for now. The one, I mean, I've definitely set people up who have dated for a long time, but my claim to fame, I actually don't even talk to them anymore. But when we lived in San Diego, I worked for this marketing agency, and I was good friends with a girl like on my team, and then there was a boy who came in to be like a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And I just knew that because they're both like little adorable fucking weirdos, like so cute, but just so weird, frankly. And I was like, she was having trouble. She was very young too, but she was having trouble like in the dating realm. Boys were taking advantage of her. And I think he was in a relationship for a long time, but then he broke up with it, or they broke up. I don't know. And I was like, they're married and they seem so happy. Yeah.
Nice.
And that was like years ago. Like that must have been like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This guy.
Yeah, for me, like, I think my issue with matchmaking is I've always done it like to help one of the people, and then I'm like, okay, well then the other person should just go along with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it doesn't really work out.
I think
on random side. So it's I don't know. Like one time I was like, there was this guy I was talking to, and like he liked me, but you know, it wasn't gonna happen. And so then I was like, oh, I can probably introduce you to someone. And then like, you know, and then he was like, oh, you introducing me to them? And I was like, I haven't found them yet because I hadn't. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually talking to someone because like, you know. And then it was like, no, she didn't really want to do
you can't just like sub in a body. I think to be successful, you have to know each person well enough. I mean, they weren't my best friends, especially him. I was closer to her. But you have to know both of them and if they would complement each other or not, rather than just like, hey, I have a friend who's not currently fucking anyone.
And then when do you tell them about it? Like, when do you tell them you're gonna do it? Like, how do you like? That's been my issue. Is like I tell them before it's like nailed down.
What do? Do you like bait and switch at a restaurant? You have.
No, it's just like, okay, so in that one situation, I was like, oh, I'll just find you someone.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I wasn't really gonna do that at first. So that was just a dumb thing on me. But this other time I was like, I knew this person and you know, they were going through a really tough breakup. And I was like, oh, you should find someone to just like talk to over the phone or whatever, just to get over it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I knew this person who was looking for someone. And I was like, oh, perfect. You know,
5 o'clock Tuesday.
Yeah. And then I was like, so because the person I was talking to originally was like going through a tough breakup, I was like, okay, I want to make sure the other person's like receptive before I tell them I have someone. So then I made sure that person was okay with it. And then I went to the other person and I was like, okay, do you want to do this? And they were like, oh no, I'm not ready for it. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I think you can't take too active of a role.
Yeah.
Like when I say I got them together, I wasn't like, here you are and here you are. I just kept to both of them individually, but also when they were together, being like, you guys are so cute together. Like, like go out on a date, see what happens. Like you're already such good friends. Just kind of casually introducing the idea and reinforcing it rather than like, okay, I made reservations for you for Saturday night. And it took them, I think, because he was fresh off a breakup and she was fresh off of this one douche canoe, like upsetting her a lot, which funny story about that. I'll get to that in a second. But so it took them a while to kind of do that, but they hung out in a similar friend group. So even when the friend group was out, I would be like, just saying. And eventually they kind of entertained it and it came about. I think if you push too hard at anything, it's gonna have the opposite effect. Real quick though, this kid that fucked over my friend, such a chooch in San Diego. He thought he was like the coolest little thing in the whole world, but he looked like, you know, from Family Guy, that kid with the upside down face.
No.
I used to call him upside down. Only because he was an asshole. I'm not usually that overtly mean, but he was just like sleeping with her, kind of like playing around, and she did not have she wasn't sleeping around. She did not have a lot of sexual experience to begin with. She's very young. She liked him a lot. She was like crying all the time. And then he started kind of like hooking up with other people we worked with, and it got back to my friend, and so we were at a party one time. We may have had a cocktail or two, and I was like alone in the kitchen with him, and I was like, you are a joke. Everyone talks about it. Like, you need to get your shit together, because whatever you're doing is terrible and disgusting. And also, like, no one takes you seriously. And then he moved to San Francisco like a week later.
Really? Oh my God, that's so awesome.
I'm not saying I'm responsible for it, but I think he did.
You're not responsible.
He did like have an internal moment where he was like, what am I actually doing with my life right now? And then he like got a new job. And I think he probably, I don't know if he got better as a human, but I think he got like a better job and at least fucked up a new geographical area. At least get out of my vicinity, because you're annoying.
Nice.
Anyways, don't fuck with me.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, well, good lessons, you know what I mean?
All important things.
For sure. Well, I guess this wraps up our episode. So we'll see you next time. Can't wait.
Peace.
Thanks everyone. Tune in. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. You can catch a new episode of ExFacts next week. Hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any of the action. We want to hear from you, so leave us a comment or review. Until next time, bye.